got our skin coon here. Before we put in our fleshing beam, we want to take the cartilage out of the nose. Okay? So, is it going to hurt anything if you leave it? No, it's not. But if you will cut it out, it'll help dry. Okay? And it'll actually give you, if you're selling to the fur market, it'll actually give you a little bit more length on your coon too.
What is that?
So it's just nose cartilage is all it is. We just cut that out is all we just did. So, okay. I'm gonna leave that right there. Okay. Put our coon on our beam. I like one leg up, one leg down. Okay. This, if you want to do it a different way, you sure can. But I'm going to show you what I do. Okay. Okay. Right over there. Ladies are fine. Okay, fleshing knife. This is a Necker 600, okay? I have had this knife 25 years probably, okay? They last a long time. I use this particular fleshing knife for my raccoons, possums, skunks, my smaller animals. I will use the Weeby Elite, which I'll show you here a little bit later, for my bigger animals, for coyotes, bobcats, beavers, stuff like that, okay? I can't tell you what the best fleshing knife is. What I can tell you is pick the one that fits you, okay? And I know that sounds crazy, but I probably went through 4 or 5 fleshing knives where I figured out the 2 that work best for me, okay? It's whatever fits you. My shoulder's a little bit wider, so I like this Necker. You know, a smaller person may, instead of a 14 or 12 or 14 inch knife, they may want an 8-inch knife. You know, it's just, again, whatever fits you guys, okay? All right, we've got our coon on a beam, leather out, leg up, leg down.
Do you keep those sharp, very sharp?
So when you get these are too sharp.
Okay.
Okay, you actually want to dull these. Any brand new knife I buy, I dull them a little bit because they're way too sharp. But yes, you can easily sharpen these by running a steel over across the top of them. So just, you know, follow the angle of your knife and you'll be just fine.
So you want it semi-sharp, not really.
Right,
no.
and you guys are about to find out here in a minute. Again, we're going to put some holes in fur. Don't worry about it. You know, we're all here to learn, and that's just the learning process. So, well, you got me talking, so I'll tell you real quick. I started this when I was 8 years old trapping. When I was 9, my grandpa started teaching me how to flesh properly. Okay, so he would hold back 10 or 12 raccoons for me. Throw them in the freezer, and about September, October, he'd pull them out, and he'd start me practice on fleshing raccoons. So by the time season started, and we were piling up some fur, I was ready to go, you know, and got good at it. So practice, practice, practice. You know, that's all I can tell you. We're going to put holes in fur today. You may see me put holes in fur today. That's just nature of the beast sometimes, you know. So don't let it get to you. It may frustrate you, let it go. If you get frustrated, you're done. You're just going to put more holes in your fur. So just don't let it get to you, okay? Okay, so I am going to start with the sharp side of my blade, and I'm going to get the cheek meat off the side of the face and work down. There will be a point to where I can go to the dull side of my knife, and I can push the fat, okay? And you guys are going to get to that point as well, okay? So start asking questions. So don't, I can flesh and talk and answer questions at the same time. So if there's anything there, keep on going. So you can see.
Use a rag between you and the hide.
That's just me to keep it from slipping. I just do it that way so I have a grip on it, to be honest with you. So right now,
these skins are just kind of waste skins for.
These are for us. Correct.
Purposes.
That's exactly right.
If you get a good 1 or 2 out of it, I'm sure you probably keep it, right?
Yes,
But,
and I've got a few otters with me that some of the folks already saw, and some bobcats. That if you guys want to see some finished fur, I've got some. So, okay. So sharp side, working our way down here, and you can see between the fat now and the leather. Okay, so see how white the leather is here. That means we have a prime raccoon, meaning we caught this animal at the optimal part of the season where this is probably, the fur's at its best, basically, okay? Okay, real quick, do not work down here. Look where I'm at. I am leaning over, you know, it's not good for your back, it's not good for your posture. And when you're out here, you cannot control your knife near as well as you can when you're right here, okay? So I've worked about 6 inches of that hide right there. I'm gonna pull it up.
How much pressure are you using?
Well, and that's the other thing. I'm not right now. With the sharp side, I'm not using much pressure at all. Let the knife do the job, work for you, okay? What's gonna be hard today for you all to kind of get the hang of is the right angle of the knife, okay? You wanna try to keep it flat, but you're gonna need a little bit of angle on it to cut the fat as well, okay? So it's, again, it's a practice thing and it's a feel thing, and we'll get through that today. So, okay.
You
So-
say the color of the leather is showing you that this is the optimum.
This is a prime fur, yes.
What would indicate anything different?
You would see a very dark fur here.
Okay.
I'm talking a black or blue color here. That would be an early caught animal. That would be no good, basically, okay? All right, so I'm at the top of the leg, so I am going to break the membrane on both sides here going down the leg. So I'm gonna write down the stomach. Your stomach is your thinnest part. I'm using the dull side of my fleshing knife, and I'm gonna clean that up a little bit right there, okay? And I'm just gonna push. Okay, I'm gonna get over here to where I'm more on the back side. If it will allow me to push the fat, I'm going to. If not, I'll switch over to the sharp side of my fleshing knife. So it's gonna allow me to push that a little bit. Okay, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself here. So I wanna pull this up and I wanna keep the work in front of me. I'm gonna move this leg off to the side so I can get under the arm here.
And regardless how thick the fur is, I've seen it where it's really kind of spongy because there's so much fur on the other side.
Correct.
How do you get through that without it bunching up and then cutting it?
You keep your fur as tight to the beam as you can. That's all I can tell you. And then at that point, you have to feel with your knife and not put pressure at those points of the fur, so you don't put a hole in it.
Do you ever use tools like clamps on the other side to keep this taut?
Well, okay, you said clamps. I've got a buddy
like
that
to clamp.
will actually clamp right here instead of where I use a rag to lean up against it. He'll take a clamp and clamp his fur so it won't move on him at that point as well.
And that doesn't damage it.
That doesn't damage it. It'll leave a little indention in it, but as the fur dries, that indention will come out of it, okay? Okay, so at this point, you can, when you get to this point, you can use that leg as a set point if you want to and push down. Okay, everybody listen. Hear that little pop? Okay, what that is, that's the nipple on this raccoon. So you want to be careful when you go over that nipple so you don't, what they call pop the nipple, meaning you'll tear the nipple off your fur. It happens all the time. Don't worry about it. It will not devalue your fur. It's just, again, it's that presentation thing, it's just one less hole in your fur that you have, basically, okay?
Can you do that again?
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, so again, I'm gonna pull this up to me and keep working my way down. I'm down here, the fur's quite a bit thicker. Now I'm on the rump and a little bit on the back, so I'm gonna push, and it looks like it's gonna come off pretty good for me.
And there's 6 of those?
Of 3 on each side, yes, yep.
For those of us who are not all that tech savvy and don't like to shop online, what kind of a retailer or where would you buy these tools and equipment from?
Okay, you're speaking my language. I don't own a computer, so I'm that guy. So the stuff that I purchase, or where I purchase my equipment is by going to the rendezvous. Like I said, at our rendezvous, there's 30 to 45 vendors there. You can buy your stuff online at fur harvesters, F&T fur harvesters. You can order your stuff. You can order your stuff from Minnesota Trapline, the Minnesota brand Trapline.
Well,
But you are paying a lot for shipping when you do that.
And you know why I'm asking, because you can't, ordering online, you can't see it, you can't touch it, you can't feel it, you know what I mean?
Right. But
So you don't know if a tool or a piece of equipment you're buying, especially when it comes to, tools and equipment, it's always better to be able to get a feel for it.
especially if you're buying like a fleshing knife or
Yeah.
something like that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so we've cleared this, basically the hip of this coon here, and you can see you're now getting a good idea of what the difference is looking like.
And how do we find out about the rendezvous
Okay, the best way,
without being online?
the best way I can tell you is.
What's that? What is?
Join the Missouri Trappers Association. You will get a quarterly magazine from them, and that tells you everything they have going on throughout the year. Tells you about stuff like this. It'll tell you about our rendezvous. It'll tell you about our spring meeting. It'll explain what's going on in every district. We have 9 districts in the state. It'll tell you what each district has going on. And, you know, there's a lot of Missouri folks there that buy and sell traps and equipment. So you may be able to buy locally, you know. So it's
And to find out about those, you gotta go online, right?
yes, or like I said, if you join the Trapper Association, you get that magazine quarterly.
Yeah.
You'll have it come to you.
Well, to
right?
get to the Missouri Trappers Association, you gotta do it online unless you know
I
somebody.
have all
who's-
that stuff with me today if you guys want to
There we go.
It's like 35
See?
bucks a year. I'm a lifetime member and have been for years, and I think it's 365 bucks for a lifetime
See,
membership or something. So
I ask a lot of questions.
That's okay.
For
And-
opportunities
and-
like that.
Well, yeah, exactly. And part of that is we have a yearly sale. So if you don't have a fur buyer locally, we have a yearly sale in Montgomery City. We bring in 14 to 20 fur buyers to us, to Missouri Trappers. We want as many people bidding on our furs as we possibly can because we want you to make as much money as you possibly can. Because we know the fur market's not strong now. So, but we want to give you every opportunity to at least make back some of your money. Okay?
When you got
Hold that for
to,
me, sir, just like that, please.
when you got to the bottom down here, were you using the dull
The
side?
dull
or-
side, yes.
So that's our best with dull side?
Yep.
And
Gristle.
meat?
And meat is better with the sharp side.
Thank you.
Okay, all right, so you can start to see the difference. Okay, we fleshed that side, you see what we're gonna start again on the next side, okay? Okay, and if you remember me saying, from the head, the neck, the back of the skull forward, there is no value on that animal whatsoever. So I don't care if you cut holes and you got one great big eye hole. Don't worry about it. It means nothing. It does not devalue your fur whatsoever. Thank you, good man.
If you have nicks in your fleshing vein, should you sand them out?
Yes, ma'am, you absolutely should. That will prevent you from causing any nicks in your fur. Thank you. That is a great question.
Be good to keep them covered when not in use then, huh?
Well, I have a shop or shed that is nothing but my trapping stuff. So as long as you can cover it if you want, absolutely. But if you keep your stuff separated, you should be good to go. Okay, I'm back to the sharp side again. Thank you, Casey. You made me think of something else. Here's where I see a lot of mistakes being made, but I think it's this person's comfort zone, okay? If you watch me, I'm slicing from the side, okay, coming across. I see a lot of people doing this. What happens when you do that? It causes your fur to bunch right there in that spot, and you're going to cut a hole in that spot right there, okay? So that's why you see me working my knife across, like so, not like this. See all that slack and all that, by me doing that? I'm going to put holes in my fur by doing that. So just take your time. Still going to stay on the sharp side for just a little bit. I like to stay on the sharp side till I work down to the leg there. Again, if I have a smaller, younger coon, they're gonna push easier. So I'll go to the dull side, and again, this one's going to let me do that.
How would you work around the hole?
I'm sorry.
How would you work around the hole if there was a hole?
Okay, if there was a hole, I would push right up to the edge of that hole, and then I would go to the other side of the hole and I would push again. If it's a thin spot and I'm making the hole bigger, I will stop. Let me finish this right here. I will pull that spot up to me right here. And because this is a wooden board, I will put a thumbtack, or I will tack it on this side right here, and I'll tack it on that side, and I'll continue to flesh down. That way, that tack is taking that pressure away from that hole, and I'm not making a bigger hole, basically. So, okay, so we're gonna come down here and break the membrane again on the kind of the back side there, all the way down, and go over the top of that leg. this leg off to the side so I can get under the armpit and get that off real good.
So it looks like your angle of your blade is, on the dull side,
Now,
is further up
yeah.
and down.
Yes,
Right.
yes, and the angle will change for me depending on the animal, okay? A coyote is very hard to push the fat off of. So I'm more straight pushing this way. To where this is fat and greasy, it's gonna push a lot easier. So that's the angle I use at that point there. So, okay, so we
Straight up and down.
pretty much got that. I'm gonna put the leg in the front right there, and I got a little bit right here. The best part about your greasy animals, your coons, your possums, your skunks, you don't have to get this 100% clean, okay? Because we're gonna go to a stretcher here in a minute, and I'll hang it on a stretcher for about 5 days, 5 or 6 days, and that fat will drip off. It will come off. So if you think you've done an ugly job on your fur, be patient. Give it time to hang, because that grease and fat will drip off that hide. Okay. All right. So we're a little bit farther down than I want to be. So let's pull it up and keep it in front of me.
Do you recommend the hanging process?
100%.
inside?
Say it again.
Doing it inside?
Inside. Okay. Yes. So my fur shed, where I hang my fur, stays at 60 degrees. Okay. I have a dehumidifier running all the time. Moisture is bad when it comes to fur. Consistent temperature is what you need. I've got a buddy that his fur shed 2 years ago, he had no heat. During the day, it would warm up to 60 degrees. At night, it would be in the teens. You know, and there was no way that fur would dry evenly at all. So he had parts that would dry and parts that never dried. And he went to stack his fur. Guess what happened? It molded.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't properly dried. So constant same temperature. You want a fan blowing, not on your fur as it's hanging, but just to circulate a little bit of air in the room. And you want a dehumidifier. And that's what works best for me. So
How did they do it years ago, when there was no real electric heat or
there's a nipple I just popped. So
and dehumidifiers
They-
and all that? Did they do like a smokehouse type thing?
well, the mountain man didn't do anything. He hooped his fur and he hung it in a tree and took it to the rendezvous. So the quality of fur we put up today is 100 times better than what they had to deal with back then. So I mean, they just they did the best they could with what they had, basically.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
so that's what a nipple looks like when you pop the nipple. Just a little bitty hole right there. Does not devalue that fur whatsoever. And a lot of times when that dries, sometimes that'll heal shut sometimes. And you can even pin it shut. You'll never even know that hole was there. So I'm glad actually I did that. You guys get to see a guy like me that does a lot of fur make mistakes. We all make mistakes. And that's just part of it.
So
Now,
you
you
cut
s-
a hole in it, what do you recommend dental floss to sew it up with, or?
Like coons, skunks, and possum, I just pin it shut, and you'll be fine. If I'm sewing a bobcat or a coyote, I use sinew is what I use. Sinew. Yeah, it's so like you see the white membrane when you were help me out. When you're skinning a deer, basically the white membrane is what that is. So I buy it synthetic. It's fake, but the Indians would take that and they would separate that, and it's very stringy, and that's what they would use to sew with. So, but I use just a synthetic sinew is what I use. You can buy it at any leather shop. It's dirt cheap. Dirt cheap. Okay, so let me finish this up right here.
And what do you pin it with?
We'll get to that. I'm going to show you. I'm going to finish this coon, and I'm going to put it on a board and show you how to pin it up. And then we're going to take a quick break for lunch, and then you guys are going to come back, and we're going to get everybody on a fleshing beam, and we're going to get going here. So both sides are done. Now you can see all I have is the back, just a strip down the back. Quick and easy. Okay, you do not have to do this next move I'm about to make, but I do, okay? I clean up the head. You do not have to. Like I said, the fur has no value there. But when I take this coon into my fur buyer, he knows I've gone the extra mile to take the time to put my fur up and make it look really neat for him, okay? Does it make me a buck or two per pelt? Maybe, I don't know. Does it make me 50 cents? Maybe. That's just 50 more cents I have in my pocket, not somebody else's, you know. It's just it's a presentation thing is all it is. So, okay, I'm gonna have you hold that for me again one more time. And here I go again. What do I do with my knife? There it is, right there. Thank you. So I'll take a knife here and I'll clean up around the ears real quick. Again, you do not have to do this. I'm just taking this little extra skin and taking it off the ears. That's Matt Burson being an anal fur handler is all that is. It means nothing.
Conscientious.
Yes. And it's one of those things, if you decide to send your fur and have it tanned, it's going to help this, it's going to dry quicker and dry evenly. Okay. So that's all it took was that just a little bit right there. Okay, Nathan. Thank you, bud. Okay, here we go. Again, I'm pulling my fur down where it's a little bit taut. And from right here to about right here, I'm going to need the sharp side of my blade. Okay. And then you'll be able to push. When coons fight, especially your male coons, or when it's breeding season, what do? They fight and they grab each other behind the back of the neck and they bite and they cut fur and they create scar tissue and whatnot. So this is probably 10 inches is probably the hardest part on a raccoon to flesh. Okay, we'll see what this one looks like. This is a female, so it may not be near as bad. Okay, you can kind of see it now. You're going to kind of see some of the scar tissue right there. You want to be careful on that. Scar tissue will bust open on you. And, you know, if it does, there's nothing you can do about it. That's just part of it. I got a little bit right there I'd like to get. Okay, so you can see I'm getting spread out a little bit here. So I need to pull that up towards me right here. Again, if you leave a little bit of fat behind, don't worry about it. That's going to melt off when it dries. There's some videos out there on YouTube if you're a technology guy. I do own a phone. I do watch a little bit of YouTube. There's some good videos out there. There's some not so good videos out there either. So be careful what you watch. You know, I mean, okay, now you're starting to see some of those. This one's a little bit farther down. This part is your scar tissue. You start seeing little things like that. Those are tick bites is what that is. So, and you know, ticks do damage. Again, that is out of your hands. There's nothing you can do about that. That's the unfortunate part.
Well, that's kind of part of the uniqueness and the actually
Sure.
beauty of the
Yep,
natural beauty of it.
absolutely. So, go
my
ahead.
opinion, anyway.
Yeah.
My uncle was a upholsterer and used to do leather stuff, and some of the people would get all bent out of shape that they didn't like the texture of certain. Well, that's what you get when
Yeah.
you get leather.
Yeah, there's nothing you can do with it. You know,
That's
it's
the
the luck
beauty
of
of
the
the
draw.
leather.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
You want leather, you're gonna have to deal with it.
Yep.
That's why people want.
So we're down at the tail. Here's remember our triangle cuts we had when we cut? Okay, again, they will come into play here shortly. So we're looking good. So I kind of put my tail off to the side just a little bit, and I will use the dull side, and I'm breaking that membrane on the outside section of that tail, okay? And I'm gonna come over here and do the exact same thing on this side. Then I'm gonna go right down the middle. Here's where you wanna be careful. You can push too hard and you can break your tail off, okay? Trust me, I can't tell you how many hundreds of times I've done it in my lifetime. It happens. It does not affect the value of your fur, don't worry about it. So I'm gently going over the tail. There'll come to a point where I'm done with it. I'll make sure it's not sloppy grease coming off my tail, and that's about all I'll do right there. That's it. So you can see as I spread it, I have broken up the membrane of that tail. There's still a little bit of fat on there, but it will dry perfectly fine. It's not gonna hurt a thing.
Tick bite on the tape.
I'm sorry? Oh, yeah. Poor guy.
What was that?
There's tick bites growing.
Oh. When you
Okay.
say there's no value in the head or the tail to the buyers, you see, you go to these, these events where they have,
Let me say, there's no value in the garment part of it.
Gotcha.
Now, you go to the rendezvous and some of your guys that make the hats and all that kind of stuff, the oddity, unique stuff, no, they buy that stuff. They want that kind of stuff.
Who will?
Your folks that make your coon skin hats, stuff like that. Your what we call your oddity type vendors and whatnot. But for the fur market itself, when you ship your fur buyer buys your fur, they have no value on the head or the tail.
And you'll see them at the festival.
Sure. Making keychains and stuff out of
The vendors will
them.
be making,
Absolutely.
something out of the head or the tail. And
Yep, absolutely.
I
Yeah,
got you.
it just depends on who's your buyer, what they wanna do. Okay. All right, we're gonna put this on a board real quick, and then we're gonna let you guys get in and have some lunch. So, can I have a coon? We bring you just a coon hide, please. Doesn't matter which one, just a coon hide. Nathan, I'm gonna sneak in right here. Perfect, thank you, sir. Yep. Okay, feel the weight of that. Now feel what that weighs like. Hardly nothing, is it? That's a whole lot lighter than that, now that we've got all the coon fat off of it and all the grease off of it, okay? There's a big difference, so, all right, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, so, we're gonna use some wire stretchers today, probably. I'm a wood stretcher guy, always have been. I think it makes a better presentation on your fur. And to me, I think wire puts too much pressure on your fur and makes it too big. It stretches it too much, and that's not what your buyer's looking for. So does that make sense to everybody? Okay, all right. On my raccoons, here's the size, here's what they want, here's what they're after. A 27-inch coon is an XL. I'm sorry. Yes, a 29, no, that's not right. 27-inch coon is a large. A 29-inch raccoon is an XL. A 2X is 32 inches. A 3X is 32 to 35. A 4X is 35 to 38. 5X is 38 to 41. And a 6X is a 41 inches, okay? I have all my coon boards marked that way. That way, when I take them off, I know exactly what size it is, and I can keep all my sizes together and present them to my fur buyer. That's why I do that, okay? 6X, you're not gonna see that here. I've seen one 6X in my life, and my son caught it in South Dakota. So you will run into a few 5X here and there. They're few and far between. In Southwest Missouri, we're more of the 2X and 3X size. Matter of fact, of the ones I sold, I think I only had 3 4X this time. So your larger coon in our part of the world is the 2X and 3X. So, okay,
Where exactly on the coon does that measure?
I'm about to show you that.
Okay.
Good question. I like when somebody's ahead of me, at least they're thinking, anyway. Okay, so basically, this is gonna slide right onto the board, okay?
And do you buy your boards or you make them?
I buy my
You
boards,
buy 'em?
yes. They're all pre-cut, they're to the dimensions to fur buyers. There's kind of an unwritten rule of the sizes of what the fur buyers are looking for, and they're all made to that size, okay? So I put my fur on first, I make sure I am even in the middle, where I should be, and then I'll pull my nose back up just to give it a little bit of a stretch, okay? So that's what he's gonna look like right there, okay? So, if you're gonna use wood, like I do, I have this on my workbench at home. It's 3 little 2x4s is all it is, okay? I wanna work in front of me. I don't wanna be bending over, I want it in front of me. My work table actually hits me at the waist, so I don't bend over at all. It's a little bit taller than normal, okay? And I have these blocks on here. What does that do? that stands that up right there in front of me, so now I can pin my fur exactly how I want it. And again, I'm not bending over, or I don't have it laying on the table trying to work with it this way or anything like that. It's up and it's in front of me. All this is just a push pin or thumbtack on steroids. Just they sell these in the fur market. They're a little bit longer and a little bit more heavy duty. Okay, it's just a upgraded push pin is all it is. Okay, so when we're buying or when we're selling, or the buyer, what he's looking for is, again, from behind the head down here at the bottom. Okay, and I'll show you where they're going to mark it at. Okay, so this is the best part of the fur. This is what you're going to get graded on. Okay, so here's what I do. I will pin at the base of the tail, like so, and that's a little bit too tight. And your hands are going to get greasy and things are going to get slick, so just take your time. Okay, so there's my beginning of what I'm doing. Now, can you guys see that? You probably can from your angle. See how puffy that is? See how it's not overstretched? If you overstretch your fur, you think, heck, they're buying it by length. I'm going to pull down as hard as I can on it and get more length. Your fur buyer is going to know that. Don't overstretch your fur. They're going to pay you more for a fur that is full and fluffy and good quality than if you pulled it down all the way down here to where it's very thin and low quality. And when it gets to the tannery, it's going to tear, to be honest
Looks
with
like
you.
it's going bald.
So, yeah, there you go. Okay, so
How taut, or do you just pull it slightly snug? or-
just slightly snug. It's not super tight. So here's something else I will do. Here's our little triangle corners right here. Everybody see that? Remember I told you they were important? So I'm gonna grab that. I'm gonna put a pin in it and I'm gonna push the fur in towards the middle. It's called pleating. I'm gonna pleat the fur.
So you just pull it so that it's like, it's natural length and just a little taut? to
Correct.
that? Is that?
Yes, so
the
what I'm
idea?
doing now, I'm pulling all the heavy hair on the back in the middle. You can see this is getting poofier as I'm going. So it's gonna dry and it's really gonna make this fur stand out and look thicker. Okay, so that's what I'm after.
Do coons ever have a season like coyotes where they get a little thinner hair, like coyotes
Sure.
get mangy?
Yep. So, okay, mange is something totally different.
Yeah.
Mange is like a disease, okay? It's like your dog would get just a really bad fleas or something, but mange is something totally different. So yeah, so in our area, from about Thanksgiving to about the first of the year, your raccoon is at its primest point in our part of the world. As you get into January, they start to breed, and then you start getting this heavy scar tissue up here.
Okay.
And believe it or not, the fur will start thinning in late January and February because springtime's coming.
shedding.
It's shedding, yes. So your optimal time is between Thanksgiving and the first of the year on your raccoon. Okay, so we talked about the tail. I pin my tail open. I want it to dry evenly. I'm gonna do this in a hurry, so it may not quite be too professional, but you can use a screen right here if you want to, and only use 4 pins. Does that make sense? You can open that tail up and a little piece of screen will do that. I'm just a pin guy. That's just my way of doing it. Again, you will find your method. And it's a little bit shorter than what I like, but we're going to make it work. Now, when we get to using a wire stretcher, none of this comes into play. It's a whole different world on the wire. Okay, so, that's a little crooked, actually. We're about done with that side. Okay, remember our tabs? Like I said, they were important. They helped us pleat in our fur right here. Okay, they're no good at this point. We're gonna make a nice clean cut right at the bottom right there.
Buyers prefer trimmed like that.
Yes, they do. Yeah. It gives them a true length of what they're buying. They know exactly the length they're buying, okay? Okay. So 6543, right at a 2X is what this coon is gonna come out to be, okay? And we didn't overstretch it. Matter of fact, it's not. It's gonna be just a little bit less than a 2X. But again, if you've got a good quality fur, they may go ahead and grade it as a 2X if it's that close, okay? All right, that's the back side. So let's come to the front side real quick, or the belly side. So I'm just gonna gently pull down right here. Here's where our legs were. I'm gonna put a pin right there to wrap that leg around. Over here on this side, I'm gonna do the exact same thing to wrap that leg around on the back side. I'm gonna pin the legs. Some of that I'm gonna trim, so you just to give you a heads up of what I'm doing. Okay, so we've got a little cut right there. When I get done, you're not even gonna know that's there, okay? We're about to cut our window. Does anybody know what a window, an inspection window is basically what it is. So you gotta pretend the board's not there at the moment, okay? I'm gonna cut an inspection window so the fur buyer can unfold this and he's gonna see the back of the coon from about here down. So that's why they call it an inspection window. So he's gonna know what kind of fur he's buying, okay? The quality of it. So, okay, inspection window. I'm gonna start up here. You see, you got a little loose flap right there, okay? Just gonna make a little cut right there. And I'm just gonna come down. Trim that like so. I'm gonna come down and I'm gonna take that little hole out right there. I'm gonna even that up.
And your board, couldn't you actually cut a physical window through the wood so it's just kind of framed? It's like a rectangle, like hole, so you can see completely through it?
I guess you could if you wanted to. You talk about to see through here, to see through the fur. You could if you wanted to, but I would want to use the whole board to keep everything pinned down like we want it to dry. Okay. Okay. So there's our window. I'm gonna cut that little tab off just because it bothers me. It's nothing. It would mean I'm just trying to straighten that up a little bit, so no big deal there. Okay, we got our legs pinned. Life is good. Again, we got our little nipple area where we pop the nipple. Don't worry about it. It does not devalue your fur whatsoever. Okay, here's where I turn it on its side. I'm trying to do this. We're going to trim the legs now, okay? I want you to watch my knife, okay? Do not do that, okay? That almost closes your leg. Your fur buyer can't see what the fur looks like up here this high, okay? Let's get a better value out of that. Watch. I'm gonna pull up this, look at the angle of my knife. I'm actually cutting up. Now, look how it poofs out of there. They can actually see what kind of fur they're dealing with now up here on the top side of that raccoon. So you wanna show them as much as you can to get the best value out of your fur as you can, okay?
Can you go a little bit slower on that one?
Sure, I'm just gonna, okay, so this time I'm just gonna do it the way I do. See how my knife is angled up? I don't want it flat, I'm gonna angle it up. And I'm just gonna cut across, like that. And then come here and poof it out. Let them see what color your fur is up there on top like that.
So when you bring these to the sellers, they're turned in this position, they're turned with the leather out? Is
They're
that
with the
what you're
leather
saying?
out.
Gotcha.
Yes, they're with the leather out. Okay, and the last thing, the next to the last thing I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna trim the lip off of this hide is what I'm gonna do. Same thing, there's a little bit of slack right here in the lower lip that we cut off. I'm gonna start right there. I'm sorry, I'm trying to stay out of the way.
excuse me.
I'm just going around right there. And I'm just gonna go right under the nose right there. And all I did was trim the lip off. There's no value to that. And again, that's one less thing that has to dry. It'll make your fur dry more evenly. Okay. Now, out of all that work you've just put in, the most important thing you need to do is put in a wedge. Okay? This wedge is going to allow you to take this raccoon off the board. If you don't have a wedge in here, this is going to shrink to the size of the board, and you will have to break your board to get your raccoon hide off the board. Okay? So basically, it's going to shrink down to the board, and you're just going to see a line right here where your wedge was. Again, it is not going to devalue your fur whatsoever. It's going to give you an opportunity to pull your fur off the board. That's what you want. Trust me. I think I had to, oh, I know I did. I had 2 boards this year I had to break because you get on a roll and you forget sometimes. It's just part of it. Okay.
Is it still pretty hard to pull off with the wedge?
Okay,
With
so
dry?
once this fur is dry, you pull the wedge out. You put your thumb under the nose and you pull. If it does not want to come, you take it just like this, and I'm not gonna do this just because we're not ready. You drop it, you bounce it. Bounce it about 3 times. That's gonna loosen things up on the sides. Then you come back up and then you pull your fur off. So, okay. One more thing, I don't have one with me. Okay, so you can see the end of my board has a hole in it. I have a small eye bolt that goes right there, okay? So when I'm done, I'm hanging this up in my fur shed, and it's hanging about that far off the ground, just like that, okay? I've got 60 degrees going on in my fur shed, dehumidifier, and a fan going. Why? Any guesses why I'd hang it upside down?
So it drips down and not onto the tail?
Perfect. That's exactly right. There's no value here. Why not let the rest of that oil and grease go downhill on top of the...
You got
On the
pans
head.
on the floor underneath it?
No, I will throw cardboard down underneath it, and the cardboard will soak it up. So at that point, like I said, if you go this way, you can go this way, but it all goes down into the tail, and it takes forever for that tail to dry. And sometimes it doesn't, and it'll mold sometimes on you. So
Do you,
upside down, just like that.
do you have like long rods coming out from the wall so you can put several on?
So basically, I
and
have
Space them?
10-foot 2x4s hanging from my ceiling, attached to an eye bolt. And then I have small hooks about every 10 inches.
Or hooks,
Yeah,
gotcha.
to where I just,
Yeah.
or this little bolt here, eye bolt, I just hang it up on that hook,
Hook it.
and I can dry 50, however many at a time.
Yeah,
So, and it works great. And I'll, 5 or 6 days on the board, about day 3, I'll go through with a paper towel and I'll wipe this down, get a little bit of grease off of it. You don't have to do that, but it helps your fur dry more uniformly and it'll dry quicker. So that's the finished product right there. So you've done the skinning part, and this is what it's gonna look like in the end. I'm sorry.
You shooting for a specific humidity, or you just run the dehumidifier and let it go?
My dehumidifier is set between 35 and 45%, I believe. I think it may be 35 to 42, somewhere in there. And I'm sorry.
No, you're okay.
One more trick I did not tell you, and I should have, so I'm not a very good instructor. And I even had my knife laying here. Watch this. I'm going to take this is just I don't even know what you call this kind of knife. It came out of my wife's knife collection. She doesn't even know it's missing, by the way. So it's just a flat knife. I will take that, and once it's on the board, I will lightly run over that. And you can see how much grease has already come off of that. See that?
Is that
So-
a relatively dull knife?
It's a very dull knife, yeah. it's not dull this way, it's dull here, this way, so. But yes, it will, the more you can take off, and I just do it once. I mean, I just come down and, knock that off of there, middle, each side, and I'll turn over and do the exact same thing. But any little bit of that grease that comes off, it just helps it dry.
Are your beavers and your coons the greasiest?
Uh,
Like versus like a bobcat or possum?
Your coons, possums, and skunks are the greasiest by far. Yeah. So, and I'll show you guys in a minute. I brought a possum skin with me. They are very, very thin, and it's finished, and you'll be able to see it. You can hold up to the light, and you can see daylight through the possum skin. And that's how I learned. I learned a lot practicing on possums and stuff. If you can skin and flesh a possum, there's no animal in North America you cannot flesh. I promise you that. So, and we can look at that here in a little bit. But all right, guys, that's the fleshing part. So, and I think that's what we'll do when we'll take a break and we'll come back.